This is Harsh Rules, I'm Ben Harsh, and today we're going to continue to learn to play Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition. Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition was released in 2018 by Fantasy Flight Games. This new version was designed by Nikki Valens on the foundational design by Richard Linnaeus and Kevin Wilson. Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition supports up to 6 players and takes from 2 to 3 hours to play. In this tutorial series, I've broken Arkham Horror the 3rd edition down into 3 game layers to make it easier to learn. In the first episode, we looked at Layer 1, the city. This layer covered setting up the modular neighborhoods and looked at the game's narrative structure. In Episode 2, the citizens, we learned about the investigators and monsters in the game. Now in Layer 3, the Chaos, we will look at all the remaining elements that impact and change up gameplay. So if you haven't seen Episode 1 and 2 of this series, you're going to want to go back and watch those because we're going to jump right in. In our last episode, we left off in the stages of gameplay, having just finished the monster phase. Now in this episode, we will pick up where we left off with the encounter phase. In the first episode of this tutorial series, we covered the neighborhood locations, mainly in terms of doom and clue placement. Now let's go a little deeper and discuss neighborhood locations and how they offer opportunities to earn items, allies, spells, money, and other rewards or challenges. Once the encounter card is drawn, the text is read for that investigator's location. The rules recommend that another player should read the text to create suspense about the result of any test that takes place. However, if an investigator is engaged with a monster, they do not draw a card. Quite simply, they are too busy fighting for their lives. Each location in a neighborhood has a banner identifying its name and a set of icons that act as a cue for investigators on what to expect there. The black icons on the upper left of the location banner indicate a payment or skill test. Payment for more common items can be in the form of cold hard cash. More exotic items or services must be paid for with remnants. Remnants represent the remains of defeated monsters, or arcane fragments or artifacts. Other challenges are in the form of skill tests, where an investigator must roll dice against their skill rating. To succeed, an investigator typically needs to roll a 5 or a 6. This is joined by an arrow to the white icons on the right. These white icons cue players that once the requirements are met, the type of rewards that are offered. Rewards come in 3 categories: card rewards such as weapons, allies, curios, and spells, vitality rewards that improve a character's health and sanity, and monetary rewards such as money and remnants. Many of these rewards are pretty straightforward, but let's focus in on the more complex rewards that are based on cards. Many of these rewards are granted by way of a set of special card decks shown above. As you can see on the screen, there are decks for special items, allies, spells, and more common items. The special card deck contains all types of rewards, as well as additional talents. This deck is always kept alphabetized to easily find cards required by the scenario. The allies, spells, and item decks are all shuffled and placed in the gameplay area. Now let's take a closer look at each of these decks. To complete the setup of the item deck, draw 5 cards off the top and place them face up. These 5 cards represent the display and are items that are available for purchase in select locations on the game board. The cost for each card is listed in the upper left-hand corner. Each item also has a class and a rarity, such as common curio or common weapon. These descriptions are used by card text to refer to items in the display without listing out each item. Many items must also be equipped to be used or in a character's possession to gain the benefit listed in the text. Items that can be equipped have either a 1 or a 2 hand icon. This limits the number of items an investigator can have equipped at a time. For example, an investigator may equip a pair of one-handed items or a single two-handed item. Some items without hand icons may not require being equipped and only need to be in the possession of the investigator. Other items can only be used as their own unique action. These items will indicate this with the keyword action on the card text. An encounter may also allow an investigator to recruit allies to fight by their side. When instructed, these allies can be drawn from the top of the allies deck. Allies partnered with an investigator grants them special abilities. Also, allies can be partnered with other investigators on the team by using the trade action. An ally has their own health and sanity stats as indicated by the bottom of the card. They can take damage just like an investigator and can be healed as well. When an ally is defeated, place their card on the bottom of the ally deck. Encounter text will often instruct investigators to draw a spell. When this is required, the player draws the top card off the spell deck. Much like items, spells have classes such as rituals or incantations that may require multiple draws from the deck until that class is revealed. Any other cards that are revealed in the process are shuffled and placed at the bottom of the spell deck. Spells represent mysterious and sometimes terrifying arcane rituals that can be learned and cast by investigators. Spells often require passing a lore test and are treated as one of the two actions a character can take per turn. Many of the same icons that exist on item cards are also in effect here. The cost is located in the upper left-hand corner, and hand icons indicate the number of hands required to cast the spell. One major difference is that since spells tap into the arcane, they can cause psychological damage to the investigator. This is indicated by the blue brain icons on the black strip at the bottom of the card. A quick note, if the horror damage from a spell overwhelms the investigator, then the spell fails. Horror damage from spells can be mitigated by spending remnants. Each remnant spent cancels out one blue brain token of damage. Keep these rules in mind when integrating spells into gameplay. While discussing the various cards that affect gameplay, let's pause for a moment and look at condition cards. An investigator may gain a condition from encounter text in the game. When a condition is placed on the investigator, such as cursed, blessed, or a dark pact, locate the appropriate card and place it next to the investigator sheet. While the cursed and blessed condition are pretty straightforward impacts on gameplay, the dark pact condition is triggered when a reckoning token is drawn and resolved. When a reckoning occurs and the condition is met by the card, flip the card and read the outcome. There are several different outcomes to a dark pact that can have dire effects on the investigator. When you've prepped all these special decks, make a place for them in the gameplay area where all players can reach them. Once all encounters have been resolved, it's time to proceed onward to the Mythos phase. To conduct the Mythos phase, players will need to find an opaque cup or a bag to place tokens inside. To set up the Mythos cup, check the back of the scenario sheet. The icons will tell you how many of each type of token to place in a cup or a bag of your choice. A quick note, a blank is actually a token without anything printed on it, so be careful when punching out your components not to throw these tokens away. During the Mythos phase, each investigator takes a turn drawing 2 tokens from the Mythos cup. Starting with the leader, proceed around the table clockwise and each player draws from the cup. Draw and resolve tokens one at a time. To get a better understanding of what can happen, let's discuss each token and its effect on gameplay. First and easiest of them all are blank tokens. Blank tokens have no effect on gameplay. Drawing these can give investigators a break and allow them to deal with what's already out on the board. Next, the Spawn Clue token. Just like it says, this puts another clue onto the board. Draw a clue card and seed it just like when first setting up the game. Likewise, the Spawn Doom token is another Doom placed on the board. Draw an event card and place the Doom token just like when setting up the game. When drawing a Gate Burst, you're going to draw the top card of the event deck and place Doom on each location space on the card. Next, take that event card and all the discarded event cards, shuffle them together, and place them on the bottom of the event deck. When the Spawn Monster token is drawn, draw a monster card from the bottom of the monster deck. Place that card based on the Spawn text on the monster card. A token with a newspaper icon means you need to draw and resolve the top card of the headline deck. When setting up the game, players randomly draw 13 of the 32 headline cards, shuffle them together, and place them in the gameplay area. When a headline card is drawn, this spawns random narrative and gameplay events that provide additional challenges to the game. A quick note regarding headlines. The headline card affects only the investigator that drew it unless otherwise stated by the card. When the headline is resolved, place the card face up next to the headline deck. If all headline cards have been played, spawn a Doom token instead. Finally, if a Reckoning token is drawn, you will need to resolve all Reckoning effects in play in the game. Typically, this is the Reckoning effect listed on the front side of the scenario sheet. However, some cards when brought into play will also have Reckoning effects that you need to check for. Once the Mythos phase is completed, players will proceed back to Phase 1 and play through the sequence again. Through each round of gameplay, they will update the codex with the narrative until the story plays out till its conclusion. And now that we've covered the City layer, the Citizen layer, and the Chaos layer, you and your friends should be ready to begin your own game of Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to play Arkham Horror, the 3rd edition from Fantasy Flight Games. While this game has an enormous amount of components and rules to master, it also offers a great deal of replayability. If you get a chance to play this game with your friends, let me know about your experiences in the comments section below. Questions about this game, requests for future Harsh Rules game tutorials, and constructive feedback are all greatly appreciated. Drop a line in the comments section. To be the first notified when this episode and any Harsh Rules episode is placed online, please subscribe to this channel. Until then, I'm Ben Harsh for Harsh Rules. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next episode.